We have Sam from Singlekey here today, and he's going to be sharing some interesting tidbits about what they're able to do now. Let's just recap before we get into some of the new abilities that we're able to tap into with Singlekey. Why don't we just kind of start from the very beginning? Who are you guys and what do you do?
I'll start with the why. So who we are is, I guess, irrelevant, but the why we do what we do is very relevant. So we started as a company from the standpoint that there's a lot of risk involved in renting out properties, and we wanted to reduce some of that risk, whether it be through screening tools, through an insurance product offering, or any other things that will help reduce risk overall for landlords. That's what we want to do. So we're not just a screening tool or just a rent guarantee program or any other number of things. And that's going to come out more and more as we progress as a company. There's some really exciting things. One that just got introduced this week. And we've got a lot more coming in the pipeline to help landlords, to help anyone that manages rental properties in the next 6 months and in the next year. So very exciting times.
That is very exciting. And as you know, as a property owner, as an investor, when we hear that companies are doing these types of things, and the purpose of the company and the why, as you just brought out, is to make our lives as investors and landlords easier. That is a very welcome addition to the landscape here in our country. So thanks, first of all, for doing what you guys do. And so let's touch base on that a little bit. What are some of the key functions of Singlekey, and how does somebody get involved with Singlekey?
The main functions that we take care of are, one, we offer, very biased obviously, but I think the most incredible background credit check and general screening tool for tenants that's out there, especially in Canada today, and it's only getting better. We've got a big product update coming in the next couple of months for our screening tool, so that's exciting as well. And then we're the only real provider of rent guarantee insurance in Canada right now. There are a couple of other products that say that they provide rental insurance or rent guarantees, but really, once you lift the hood up, there's not much underneath there.
Let's touch on that a little bit, rent guarantee, and then we're also going to get to rent collection and rent collection tools. So where do you want to start? Which one would you prefer to start with, rent collection or rent guarantees?
Well, I'll just walk through the rent guarantee quickly, and then we can go to the rent collection, which is the newer, more exciting toy at the moment.
Sure.
So our rent guarantee program was something we started just as the pandemic was rolling in, actually. While everyone else was getting out of it and taking away their rent guarantee programs, there were a few that existed out there. When the pandemic hit, they all got shut down. And we said, no, people are suffering. People want this help. Let's give it to them. So we were the only ones that came, basically, the imagery of the boat and the giant storm coming in. All the boats are going towards the port, and we head out to sea as the storm was coming in because we knew that there were boats stranded out there. So we were able to help a lot of landlords in that way. And we weren't doing it necessarily as a profitable enterprise, but as something to show people, to show landlords that, hey, we're here for you. We want to help. We want to be your provider. So we got extremely good feedback for that. What it does is basically you sign up for rent guarantee program. It costs about 5% of your monthly rent, which can seem like a lot, but the risk right now in the marketplace is very, very high, obviously with pandemic and everything. So we're keeping the price just where it needs to be so that we can offer it. Unfortunately, it's not lower at the moment. Hopefully it will go down in the future, but that's what it is right now. It offers 12 months of rental replacement. So your tenant doesn't pay for up to 12 months while that eviction is happening, we'll replace that rent. $10,000 in willful damage to the property. and $1,500 in eviction fees and costs.
So you're telling me for 5% of gross rent, which is on $1,000, what? That's $50.
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah, $50 a month on $1,000 rent. I have a guarantee that if that tenant leaves or wrecks my property in one way or another, I have insurance backing me up.
If they stop paying rent, if they leave in the middle of the night, where'd they go? We'll replace up to 2 months of rent for that situation. But if they just decide not to pay rent, less of a problem in Alberta, obviously. But in Ontario, in some other places, in BC, we've been seeing throughout the pandemic, lots of people just not paying their rent just because they didn't have to, not because they lost their job or anything. Some, yes, obviously. But lots of people just not paying rent because, when it comes in, I'll do so. So as a landlord, you have to protect yourself from those situations. The government's not going to help you, unfortunately. And that's why we offer the program.
Amazing. I think that that's something that should be shouted from the rooftops because to me, 5% seems extremely low to have those guarantees behind you. And so that's awesome. Okay, so that's the
one
rent
thing I will
guarantee.
say is something we just started offering last month that most people don't know about yet is we're now offering flexible coverage on the rent guarantee program. So if you would like, you say, you know what, I don't know, 5% is a little much, or I just want to kind of hedge my bets. You can choose 50% coverage. You can choose 75%, 25%, whatever it may be. And those numbers are obviously reflected directly in the coverage. So if we cover 12 months of rent, so on and so forth, or $1,000 of rent, you'd be covering 50% at 50% and so on and so forth.
And do you have to have a minimum number of properties signed up with you guys to be able to do that? Or if I'm a landlord and I just have one property, or if I have 2 or 3, can I still take advantage of this?
Yeah, one property. The minimum is one property. You have to have one lease to sign up.
Okay. All right. So as long as we have one property, then we can sign up for these rent guarantees. So that's amazing. That really is.
And you can do it online directly from your Singlekey account. It's super simple to sign up. Takes about 5 minutes. Our qualification criteria is very, very simple. All you need is under 45% rent to income ratio and no bankruptcies in the last 3 years.
Awesome. And does that apply for leases that I have in place already? So let's say I have 4 or 5 leases already. Can I sign them up so that I don't have to have these worries?
Yeah, that's a great question. As long as you have proof that they've paid rent in the last 12 months on time, you provide us with that proof. You don't need to provide us with a credit check or anything like that. It's automatic approval.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, for all of you watching, that is a big feature, in my opinion, because here's the key is, there we go. It's the key. It's a single key. Here's one of the keys, guys, to being a landlord and being an investor and staying in this business long enough for your property to start turning, cash flow into wealth. Your mortgage is paid down, your property goes up in value. To stay in the business long enough, we need to reduce the amount of stress we have. We need to reduce the amount of worries that we have. And if, it might cost us a little bit in our cash flow, but if we now can keep that property for 10 or 15 or 20 years instead of having to sell it after 3 or 4 years because we can't stand dealing with tenant issues, having a guarantee like this is so minimal in the grand scheme of things. So I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's move on then to what's new with Singlekey, and that's some rent collection tools. So let's hear about that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's self-explanatory to a certain extent. Rent collection happens electronically through EFT transfer, so bank transfer. What's exciting and new about this is, one, we're offering it for free for anyone that has up to 3 units. So up to 3 active leases, 100% free. After that, we're looking at, we don't have the pricing yet put together for more than 3 units, but we're looking at somewhere between $3 to $5 per unit after those initial 3 free ones. What's also very interesting is that we're offering, again, free of charge up to 3 units, and included in that price I talked about before, rent reporting to credit bureaus as part of the rent collection tool. So you're collecting rent through our service, through our payment processor. We automatically know whether the rent came in or not, and we're reporting that to the credit bureaus.
Why, for an investor, is it beneficial to have the rent reported to the credit bureau from an investor's point of view?
One is that extra pressure on the tenant.
Mhm.
If I want to pay late this month, or I don't want to pay till next month, or so on and so forth, usually most places in Canada, I've got some leeway, right? Whereas with this, that late payment will be reported to the credit bureau, and so I'm that much less likely to pay late or not pay. And the other side is the carrot, which is if I do pay on time, my credit is built up. This is great for new Canadians as well. A lot of landlords, we have questions all the time about people that, tenants that are arriving, that are new to Canada. It's a great way for them to build up their credit.
Amazing. So that's it's good for both sides. That's a total win-win. Investor gets the benefit, a little extra pressure. This is being reported, but that's a benefit for the tenants as long as they're paying their rent on time. That's a benefit for them, like you said, they're building their credit. So
yeah, it's also a red flag for any tenants that don't agree with this. As you're signing your lease, you're putting through that application, and they go, "Oh no, I don't want this reported to credit bureau."
Mhm.
Why not?
Mhm.
Not planning on paying your rent?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a screening tool as well. So brilliant.
Exactly.
Love it. So question from Sean. He says, I have 250 units. So if I have 250 doors, let's say, times $3 a door, it's going to cost him $750 to have all of those units rent collected. Is that kind of what we're hearing here, or that pricing isn't quite figured out yet, or where are
Yeah,
you?
that pricing isn't quite figured out yet, and there's a few reasons for that. We're trying to negotiate with our suppliers on the rent payment processing for volume discounts. So up to, let's say, under 10 units, it will be around that $3 to $5 range. After that, well, first of all, Sean, congratulations on 250 units. That's amazing. If we had a little clapping hand function to float up, I'd trigger that. Congratulations. But yeah, we would be looking at probably quite a bit less than that with some volume discounts included in there.
Okay, awesome. Just to understand, because we're talking about units. So, another question here. I have one unit, but it has two rental doors. So I'm assuming it would have two leases. So is that considered one, or is that considered two out of the three?
So when I say unit, I mean door. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Door, lease, tenant, whatever. Yeah, something
exactly.
along those lines. What does it mean that you're collecting the rent? Like, how does this work?
It's fairly simple, all things considered. You're signing up particular leases with that rent payment, so it's an automatic pad withdrawal, same way as predated checks would work, but just electronically, so you don't have to deal with the hassle of checks. That money goes straight into your account, so it doesn't sit in one account, then so on and so forth. And we're looking at right now delivery, so payment delay of 24 hours.
Oh, wow. So tenant pays the rent on, let's say, the first of the month. It's in our bank account on the second, maybe the third at the latest, kind of thing.
Yeah, so most payment processors will process in 3 to 5 business days, and we're looking at 24 hours to 48 hours tops.
Okay. Amazing. So that's really, really good. What options then might that give the tenant? Does it give them other options on how they can pay their rent? Like, does it just get debited from their account, or do they pay by credit card, or how does all that work?
Yeah, so we will be adding credit card functionality in the coming months. But at the moment, it's only debiting from the account. It's an automatic withdrawal, though. So the tenant doesn't have to do anything. There's no possibility of them forgetting.
For everybody listening and watching, how many of you, like, what does this sound like to you? For number one, you can have the option of having some rental guarantees. Number two, the new rent collection tool here, where we don't have to worry about checks. We don't have to worry about tracking down our tenants. It's automatically withdrawn from their accounts. It's automatically reported to the credit bureau. That benefits the tenant. That benefits you as a landlord. What are your thoughts on this? And the cost of this for your first 3 properties is absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a cent. I think this is amazing. Is there a catch? Am I missing something here, Sam?
No, there's no catch. We're a young, hungry company that we love to change things up, change the landscape, especially here in Canada. There's a lot of things that are being done in the States in the real estate space, especially residential, that need to come up here. We need to do things better and provide more value for landlords as companies that work in this space. So we're just doing that, and we'll continue to do that. If you think this is great, wait till next year. We want to introduce a new product like this every 6 months. So Amazing. We'll be working on that.
You know, anytime a company is watching what's happening down in the US and then bringing some of those tools up to Canada, that is always welcome, because, you know, they tend to get a little ahead of us in some respects. I mean, it's a way bigger population, but this is amazing for Canadian landlords, Canadian investors to have these tools at their disposal and for them to be free. Like here, we're talking, we can have the rent collected from our tenants on our first 3 properties absolutely free. When do you think
and reported to the bureaus?
And exactly. Anyone here within this group, there's a special discount for them as well. Tiffany was telling me that there's a 20% discount by using the coupon code Fearless20. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. But yes, Fearless20 is the code, active on Singlekey.com. You just put it in before you make a purchase, and it'll auto save that code. So every time you make a purchase, you'll get.
Perfect. Love it. Okay, a couple questions here that are thrown in the chat. Number 1 is, what happens? James is asking, what happens when a tenant doesn't pay rent?
Yeah, so I think James is referring to the rent guarantee program. So if you're signed up for the rent guarantee program, it's pretty simple. Tenant doesn't pay, you make a claim like any other insurance, and we try to make it a simple claim, not like some other insurance companies. And then usually within 2 weeks of making that claim on the first month, we'll replace that rent for you. And then those months after, so the first month, the time for the claim takes usually about 2 weeks. And then any month after that, while you're evicting that tenant, typically within the first couple of days of the month, we'll send that payment up to you. So it is paid out monthly, not a lump sum.
And when you say evicting the tenant, is that something that you guys take care of, or that's still the landlord investor's responsibility?
So it is the landlord or investor's responsibility. We do cover the costs, which typically in Canada are below $1,500. So that's usually enough to either do it yourself or hire a paralegal to take care of it for you.
Awesome. Okay, here's a good question. We use property management. How do you see this working in collaboration with the other services that property managers provide?
Yeah, that's a great question, Facebook user. It works well in conjunction. So property managers are great. If you're a hands-off investor, property management can be one of the best tools available. However, it doesn't guarantee that your tenant is going to pay their rent. That's something property managers don't like to highlight, but it can happen. As much as, you know, they're generally professionals that are good at screening tenants, at the end of the day, that risk is still there. So they are things that can work together, definitely. Having a property management company in place or a property manager working on your unit doesn't mean that your tenant necessarily will pay rent.
All right, so this is kind of backup. Really, it's helping you as the investor because you're the one that takes the bottom line, but it also is of assistance to the property managers. Have you guys, you know, do you work directly with property management companies?
But yes, we are actually working on that. We're in final talks with a company that does have representation across Canada. That's been the challenge up to now in finding that. And we are working on a partnership where we would be able to offer those services together, obviously at a discounted rate.
Another one here. So is it only for tenants that has been paying for at least 1 year.
Or
Okay,
new
hold on.
leases as well. So yeah, it
Yeah.
is also for new leases. It works for both. As long as they've been paying for 12 months, you can guarantee easily. There's no
Okay.
problem. We don't ask for any other qualification criteria. But if it's a new lease, then we do have that qualification criteria, which is rent to income ratio, household income, that is, of less than 45%. And no bankruptcies in the last 3 years.
So let's just simplify that and rental the ratio of 45%. So if somebody makes $100,000, then they can't be paying more than 45,000 a year in rent. Is that essentially
Exactly.
what?
Exactly. Okay. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Awesome. So where do they get a hold of you guys if they want to get in touch with you?
Yeah,
What's
so
the
you can
best way?
send an email to info@singlekey.com, or just go on the website. We're very active on the little chat bot that pops up on the website. The first couple of questions are a robot, so just don't get mad at me and say, "Oh, you said there was someone there." But it will send you to someone in the company, and we're there. We actively chat with people on the website.
Okay, excellent. Tori is asking a question. If I bought a home this week, I can't qualify for the rent guarantee. I believe he can still get the rent guarantee with a new tenant. You clarified that
Yeah,
already.
absolutely. And even if it was last month that you started a lease, get in touch with us, and we'll find a way to make it work. Generally,
Perfect. I really like a couple of the things that you said. You're kind of like, we're trying to work with you guys. We're trying to work with you investors. We're trying to build our business here, and get in touch with us and we will make something work. A lot of us, look at a larger company and they say, well, I'm just a number within that company. But it sounds like, we can kind of get in touch with you guys, and you'll work with us, and you'll come to some sort of middle ground that'll work as far as costs or whatever it is that we need. And I've noticed you mentioned that a couple times so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, we want to offer great products at a good price to landlords and investors. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
We don't want to be just one other company out there. We want to stick out, and if you've seen our Google reviews, we have a 4.9% Google review on about 400 reviews. So we work really hard for that. That's not chance. We answer questions. We're there for our customers. We offer value constantly. We're always banging at the door to offer more value. And that's what we're trying to do here with the rent collection tool as well.
Do tenants and landlords get auto reminders if the rent is not paid at the beginning of the month? So let's say that there's an NSF, there's not enough money in the account, it can't grab it. How does that work?
They'll get notified. Yeah. They don't get auto reminders to pay the rent because it's taken out automatically. But if there is an NSF or anything, they'll get a notification about that. Definitely.
Okay. Perfect. Marie is asking if you can repeat what is offered with the insurance. So that I'm assuming the rent guarantee, Marie, is what you're referring to. So maybe just repeat what that rental guarantee is. I know we kind of cut out at that point, so maybe you can just repeat that.
Yeah, no problem. So it covers up to 12 months of rent replacement. So if your tenant doesn't pay, we offer up to 12 months of coverage where we replace that rent. While we're getting that tenant, or working with you to get that tenant evicted. Then $10,000 in willful damage to the property, and $1,500 in legal costs or eviction costs.
So let's say the tenant stops paying a rent. 4 months later, they're evicted. Then that's when the payments would stop. They wouldn't continue for 12 more months, correct?
Well, it would be 12 months total. So no, it wouldn't go 4 months plus another 12. But no, once the tenant is evicted, that's it. We stop the payments.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So this is a good question, Trevor. He says, sorry to get personal, but how long have you been running this insurance program? It seems too good to be true. So is it Singlekey themselves that is backing this insurance program, or what do you guys have behind you?
No, I wish it was. We'd get a better deal. But no, it's we're reinsured through Lloyd's of London. So we have to pay through the nose for that.
Okay.
Big name insurance company. Yeah.
Awesome. So hopefully that answers your question, Trevor. It is really good. And that's why I'm asking Sam, what's the catches here? Because, everything is
It's
sounding
funny
really good.
because we hear both things. So I'll hear within the same day. Wait, this seems too good to be true. How are you guys offering this for so little money? And also, this is too expensive. I'm not interested. So it really depends on your situation. We think it's a great deal. We think it provides a lot of value, and we've had a lot of interest because of that. But it really just depends on what your level of risk is, and what you're interested in. It's like buying a car. You could walk into a Honda dealership and say, "Wow, that Civic is at a great price. My God!" Or you could say, "Oh, what are you talking about? My horse costs me less." It's a bad metaphor, but it's all perspective, I guess. But I think it's a great deal. And on top of it, I didn't mention this before, but it is tax deductible. There's no tax on top of it because it's an insurance product, and it is tax deductible. So if your property is running relatively well, you can write off a good part of this.
Good question from Samir. Is this available in Quebec, or where do you guys cover in Canada?
So all our products are available across Canada except the rent guarantee. It's not offered in Quebec because of different insurance rules. Okay. Unfortunately. But as a Quebec boy, I wish we were offering it. Sorry, Samir.
But the rent collection can still be done in Quebec?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everything else, so all your products work in Quebec except for the rent guarantee?
Exactly.
Okay. I think something that needs to be stressed to all of us investors out there is that this business, and we've talked about this a million times, but this business can be stressful. Dealing with tenants can be stressful. Dealing with realtors and mortgage brokers and lawyers and buyers and sellers and everybody that we deal with in this business, so that we can buy these properties, own these properties, and increase our net worth. We do all of this work. There's a lot of stress involved with it, though. If we can find little ways and avenues that reduce the amount of stress that we have, if we can find for $3, $4, $5 a month, we can now have a rent collection tool that gets the rent directly from the tenant's bank account into ours, or is absolutely free for our first few properties. Why wouldn't we use it? It's going to make our life easier. If we can add products to our portfolio that are going to guarantee the rent coming in, guarantee that if a tenant stops paying the rent, we're still getting that income so we can pay those mortgages. These are stresses that can keep us up at night. These are stresses that us as investors who have owned multiple properties for many years, we go through sleepless nights sometimes worrying about some of this stuff. So if we can take that worry and remove it and put it aside and have an insurance product protecting us for that, or have a collection tool collecting the rent for us, if we can have these many features, and Sam, you mentioned there's many more things coming in the near future, and we're excited to hear about those when they do come. But all of these things just reduce the amount of stress. And not only are they good for us, but I love the fact that you also brought out that reporting the credit bureau is good for our tenants. We're helping to build up their credit as long as they're paying on time, and that's an added bonus. If we're just collecting the rent by a check, we're not reporting to the credit bureau. Their credit is not being improved. We're not really helping them out. So if this is another way we can help out our tenants as well, then that's of great benefit too. And these are the types of things that we all get excited about as investors because, hey, it makes our life easier. It makes the tenants' life easier. Why wouldn't we get excited about that? That's
we
awesome.
Sometimes forget that tenants are clients. They're our clients. We want to have a good relationship with them. They're making us money. We want them to be happy. We want that relationship to exist well. So we're going to do as much as we can to help now and in the future to help landlords create beautiful, long-lasting, beneficial relationships with their tenants.
Absolutely. Love it. And that's something that a lot of people miss in this whole equation of investing is, like you said, our number one clients are our tenants. If we treat them well, they come, they pay us tens of thousands of dollars every single year, and they leave and expect nothing in return. So like what other business can you have clients like that, that will pay you that much money and expect nothing when they leave? So
it's the biggest purchase that they make every
yeah,
year.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if we can do these extra little things to make their lives easier, why wouldn't we? It's only going to help that relationship, as you mentioned, Sam. So there we go. Well, we'll leave it at that, Sam. We've filled almost an hour here talking about rent guarantees, talking about rent collection tools that you guys at Singlekey provide, and all the other things coming down the pipeline we're excited to hear about as well. There's so many tools here, guys. I would implore you, if you are an investor, if you are a landlord, if you own or are planning to own investment properties here in Canada, you absolutely need to check out Singlekey, sign up for an account. If you enter Fearless20 into your account, and you're going to get a 20% discount. It's going to reduce stress. It's going to reduce headaches. In fact, I have your website spooling next to me here on the other screen. Take the headaches out of renting. Take the stress out of renting. That's what this is about, guys. If we can do that, why wouldn't we? It's going to make us last longer. Yes, it might cost us a few dollars per month out of our pocket now, but it could mean tens or hundreds of thousands or more down the road if we happen to hold on to these properties long enough, because our stress level has been low enough during that period of time. So use these types of services, guys. And there we go. I appreciate you coming on, Sam, and sharing these exciting things, these exciting tools with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look forward to coming back again once we have a new product to discuss. Shouldn't be too long, so I look forward to providing more value to your members soon.
Perfect. Love it.